this video is going to be a bit different. And the main reason is that yesterday I was having a talk with somebody, with a student who cleared his bachelor's, was also an engineering student, and then afterwards he has been now trying to give the government exam for the last 3 years. So essentially he has been preparing for UPSC, is not getting cleared every single time. 3 years have already passed and he really wants to go abroad. He doesn't want to stay in India, and he doesn't want to, be a part of the system and just like do the exact same bureaucratic things that everybody else has been doing, and just wants to like go abroad a bit, live his life, and then maybe think about coming back to India sometime in the future. And the funny thing is that the call that we had, it really had nothing to do with studying in Germany, but it was more about just sitting down with him and just like figuring out like what he's feeling and what kind of other solutions we can have. And one of the biggest concerns that I had about that particular case was that the parents were telling him essentially that we don't want to stay alone, and you are maybe settle down abroad, and then afterwards you're going to marry somebody from there, and she's not going to fit in our culture and all of these sort of things. And I think I can understand like where they're coming from, and like most of the people hate changes, most of the people hate insecurities or some things that they do not know about. But I think it is also very important to understand that if your son or daughter, they're being like extremely unhappy in wherever they are in life, it is not going to bring you any peace either. And I mean, I hope you understand, because I think most of the parents understand that. But there are some who still don't. Sometimes like you're so blinded by how much like you love your child or how much you want to wish your child well, that you try to decide everything for them. You try to tell them like what job they're going to do, what profession they're going to take, where they're going to live for how long, and like what they're going to eat and when they're going to sleep and everything. And sometimes these things don't even end when they're grown up. It is very important to like let your child a bit more free as they grow older, because I think it is really nice that with the changes of the life years, like as a son or daughter grows older, that you really shift from becoming their parents to becoming their friends, and like just discussing things with them, really trying to understand like what kind of problems your son or daughter is facing. And sometimes you might think that you know everything what is going on in your son's or daughter's life, but many a times you might not. And then at those times, just a simple question like son, what are you struggling with, or how can I help you, or something like that, really goes a long way. And I find it really important, because I understand that parents, they don't want their like sons or daughters or children to be away from them, especially when they're old, especially when they need help. But I think it is also very important to remember that your children also have just one life. That means like whatever decision they're going to make right now, it is going to stay with them for a while. So for example, your son decides to go to Germany, they want to study here, they want to live here afterwards for 3-4 years, or like maybe they want to settle down, no? But any of these decisions, for example doing masters, it is reversible. Well, maybe they go abroad, they don't like the situation there, but they really wanted to go abroad when they were in India, then they want to come back, and of course financially and socially it is a huge stress, and maybe you were thinking that everything is going to run fine, that's why you told your relatives, that's why you told your friends and everybody that my son or daughter is going abroad and they're going to do their masters and everything. But then your children go abroad and maybe they don't want to do their masters, maybe things are so difficult, or maybe they're not getting the support that they want. Then again, like it is very important to remember that any kind of decision that your son or daughter is going to make, they're always reversible. Most of them are reversible. So sometimes don't take these things too seriously. I mean, I know it sounds like a very bad advice, but I think it is very important to always remember that no matter if your child decides to stay abroad or come back to India, no matter if you decide to stay in India or maybe go abroad afterwards, all of these things, they can always have a solution. There always is a way around. But right now, when they're growing up, when they're actually in their 20s and they really have the opportunity to see the world and experience new things, if you think it is financially feasible for you, I think then you should have an open mind to this idea. I mean, of course, every single household has different kind of situations. Every single parent knows their child the best. But maybe sometimes sitting down together as friends and discussing some kind of strategies or some kind of topics through would really help in making everybody's life easier. Because the thing is, the alternative is that your son or daughter, they are just preparing for the government exams. They are preparing for IES, IAS, UPSC, SSC, like all sorts of different kind of exams. Even GATE these days is like getting worse and worse and worse. But if they're not happy in this journey, they're not going to be happy when they're like finally done with that, because they will always have the baggage that they still wasted like 2 or 3 years of their life in doing something that they absolutely did not want to do. And what if, you know, like what if this would have happened, where would I be then? So I think like especially towards the end of your bachelor's, you know, like maybe even you as a student should like maybe just sit down with your parents and like discuss with them. And sometimes it takes longer to convince your parents to see them your side, because of course they see from a different perspective from their own times, like what kind of experiences they had, and you see from different perspectives, from whatever kind of new information you have and, you know, whatever kind of aspirations and hopes you have. So like sometimes just sit down with them, talk to them about these things, because if you're not happy in what you're doing, it wouldn't get any better afterwards if you're not really thinking about making some major drastic life changes. And that is pretty much what I wanted to say. Like, you know, just really sit down with your parents, like talk to them, because sometimes you might feel like, you know, the whole day is going on and like you're eating together and afterwards you're sleeping in the same house, you're just watching same things together, but it still doesn't mean that you have talked about things together, which is the most important thing. These kind of major life decisions, you should sit down, you should talk to them about these kind of scenarios and just figure out what is going to be the best scenario for both of you. About the what if story, because I think what if can like lead to huge regrets in life, and I think like you will never be regret free. There are always some kind of regrets you have in life, maybe one thing or the other. But my father, yeah, so he had this like strong principle that like we of course like try to give you the best that we can, and then if nothing works out, it's fine. At least we know that we used all of our resources, we stretched ourselves to the limits, so that you don't have to think what would have happened if I would have done this. And a very important, I think, step in my life, or like phase in my life, was the time when I was coming to Germany for a conference, because it was horrible at that time. I was in my bachelor's, I was absolutely unhappy. I was more unhappy because of the hostel situation, like how you did not even have water in the sinks in the morning so that you can just like do your business and like come out clean. And it was like absolutely horrible. And I'm talking about this Deenbandhu Chhoturam University of Science and Technology. Like maybe things have changed now, but at my time, like they were just absolutely horrible. The teachers, I mean, of course, many of them were nice, but most of them also like had really like no desire to teach. So sitting in the class was pain, and you still had to go to the classes because you need to have these 75% of attendance. And for me around that time, like, you know, I just started looking at German again, because I always wanted to go to Germany, just because that was pretty much the only country I knew. Like that was, for me, like going abroad was like going to Germany, because in my childhood I went to Germany, so I had this like crazy obsession that, you know, everything is just absolutely perfect there and it is a paradise. Once I go there, everything is going to be fine, which definitely is not the case. There are always like problems in every single country, but this kind of dissatisfaction, this kind of this kind of like pain that I was having when I was like studying in my bachelor's really motivated me to like look for opportunities abroad. And then afterwards I found this conference, and the conference had nothing, absolutely nothing to do with civil engineering. But I read some papers, I read some other research papers about like what is the story of like space debris and everything. And then afterwards I made a review paper where I would like put a lot of different kind of, you know, papers together and then review them, that like this paper talked about this but not this, this paper talked about this, and so on. I submitted the research paper and it got accepted, got published in the conference proceedings. And that was also the time where I met Alina. And if my father would have seen that, hey, this has really absolutely nothing to do with civil engineering, we are not going to send you, because my HOD at that time, he said that, yeah, what are you going to do? We are not going to give you leave for this conference. And look, like, I'm a student in the bachelor's, right? And I'm attending classes where like teachers really have no desire to teach, and most of the times where the classes don't even take place. So the HOD was like that. He was like, you know, why are you going? Like, what is the point? Why are you wasting your parents' money? Like, he would make me feel bad like that. And my father was like, you know, just go, like, see what kind of exposure you will get. Like, it is essentially just money, and like money can be earned back, but maybe some kind of experiences that you have there, some kind of like events that happen there, that you might miss out on if we devoid you from sending there. And in that conference, when I was on the way to that conference, I met Alina. And of course, then things changed entirely. Then afterwards, I started looking for an internship. I just came across an absolutely beautiful company, couldn't have thought of anything better or like wished for anything better. Then afterwards, at that time, Alina was my girlfriend, now she's my wife. And all of those things wouldn't have happened if I would have listened to the rational decisions that the society was telling me, that the teachers were telling me, that the HOD was telling me, and if my father wouldn't have told me something in the opposite sense. If he wouldn't have said, hey, like, you know, just go, like, we will see everything else, then I might not even have went. And all of this thing that you're seeing, like all of the YouTube and me studying abroad or something, maybe I wouldn't even have the courage of doing that. Yeah. Because like a story that not many people know is like I joined Made Easy. It is this like coaching institute in New Delhi in the third year of my bachelor's, and because everybody was joining it, so I was like, yeah, like, you know, bachelor's is ending, what are we going to do? I have no idea about studying in Germany or something, so like, let me just do that everybody else is doing. And I joined Made Easy, and I think the fees was around a lakh or 1.5 lakh rupees or something. And I, with my friends, we started going there. And I think within a few weeks, like, we really absolutely hated it. My roommate, he decided to go to US and I decided to go to Germany, and it was a decision that we took after we paid the fees, after we started going to coaching, and after we were like, you know, this is a bad time to opt out of this, but I think let's just try it anyways. And all of that wouldn't have been possible if my roommate's parents wouldn't have supported him, and if my parents wouldn't have supported me in just saying that do what you think is the best for you, and we are behind you. The only thing that we can offer you is the money and our mental support. The rest you have to manage on your own. And I think like just these two things are more than sufficient if your son or daughter are the kind of people who really take their decisions seriously and feel responsible. Because if they feel responsible in what kind of decisions they are making, which are affecting not just themselves but also you as parents and maybe the siblings and everybody else, then they're going to really make sure that whatever kind of situations come, that they make the best out of those possible things and make you proud. And then even afterwards, maybe they went for masters or something, they went to Germany, and then afterwards it did not work out, like they just felt homesick or something and they wanted to come back, they came back. Then even in that scenario, I don't think it is such a bad decision at all, because you still gave them the platform to just go abroad once, to see what they wanted to do, and then even if they come back afterwards, they're going to work on their own, because they are the one who have to build a name for themselves, have to build a life for themselves, right? But I think a request is definitely going to be that even if like you don't have the finances to offer, like bank loans do that, and like sometimes they even give education loans directly to the children themselves. So even in that case, just the mental support and the encouragement is really important, and sometimes goes a really long way, because most of the times, and I've seen this like a lot more in the Indian society, that everybody's like trying to drag you down, and even if they're like bahut badhiya, in the back of their head they're like yeah, nothing is going to work out with him, like it is just going to fail and everything like that. So when the entire society, when the teachers, when some of the friends and everybody are telling you things which you don't want to hear, and you really believe in your heart that maybe the kind of life that you want to establish for yourself, the kind of life that you want to live for yourself, you're not going to get in this country but in some other one, just take a leap of faith. Like, it is not going to cost you more than your money. Like, money you can still earn back. If you're serious about your decision, if you're sincere about your decision, you're going to earn back that money. The money is not an issue, but the time and the what ifs and the regrets and the taunts of the society, not even the taunts, like, I mean, you need to grow a thicker skin over the time, but I think these what ifs, the regrets and everything, like, they kind of eat on you, and you don't want to let that happen. When you're, I don't know, 75 or something, you don't want to think that what would have happened if I would be 19 years old, I would go for a conference in Friedrichshafen, meet my wife there, and maybe the life would have been completely different. Yeah, so essentially, parents, just talk with your children, see like what they're having in their minds, because things are only getting more stressful in India. And I'm not talking about like just the job wise, but also like, you know, mentally, because there are just so many people competing for the same things. Yeah, it's getting difficult. It's getting more difficult. It's not such a great scenario. So if you think your children want to go abroad, give them this opportunity, and give them this opportunity with complete trust on them. Because if you know your child well enough, and you know they pull through in whatever kind of promises they make, or they're going to do well, then maybe the last step of letting them change their life is going to be to trust them and just talk to them. Well, sorry if the video sounded all over the place, because I don't like to make videos like these with the script and just want to see what comes in my mind. It's like making a conversation with myself, and like seeing what kind of things I've observed in my life and what kind of experience I have, and how I can just like share them in the most, I think, understandable way possible. Yeah, so that's the story, and that's what I think about it. Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate what my parents have done every single time, and like, of course there were times, and I think it's the story for most of the parents who have come from the village. So my grandparents, they were not educated. Now they couldn't read, they couldn't write, but the one thing they knew was that we want to give our son the best possible opportunities. So my father, he went to a different city, and then afterwards he started studying, and he became this person that he is right now. Like, he was a registrar back then in a university in Haryana, then afterwards he is a chairman and professor right now. And if you think that he is also just a son of, like, you know, illiterate parents and uneducated parents, and like what kind of life he built for himself just because of some kind of resources and the mental support his parents give to him, it's crazy. And I think he pretty much tried to do the same for me, and yeah, I think without him none of this would have been possible anyways. just something that I wanted to get off my mind. Alright, bye.